Wedge placement is very simple, but if you aren't sure where to start and you just place it anywhere, you might actually make your concealment problem worse. The first step in figuring out where you want to place your wedge in order to solve your specific concealment problem is to use the poke and check method to determine where your concealment problem is. Usually you'll find that your issue is one of three. The edge of your grip is printing, your rear sight is printing, or the entire top of the gun is sitting farther away from you, causing somewhat of a shelf-like printing. The first thing to note is that you're going to want to place the wedge on the opposite side of the holster from the problem area. Being that the problem area is almost always coming from the top portion of the gun that is above the belt line, you'll want to place the wedge on the lower portion of the holster. You may even want to kind of hang it off of the edge a little bit. Not only can this create somewhat of a keel effect by adding some length to the holster, but it can also mitigate any pinching you might be getting from the lower portion of the holster interacting with your abdomen or even your leg. If you're experiencing printing from both your grip and the rear sight or optic, then I would suggest you center your wedge on the bottom of the holster and kind of mess around with different wedge thicknesses. Here's a quick tip for customizing a wedge size without any wedges or wedge materials. Go into your closet or your dresser and grab a set of socks like these and place them where you might need a wedge. You can play with wedge thickness by kind of wadding up the sock or adding its pair to the mix for an even thicker wedge. There's no need to go out and buy a specific wedge product before determining what general size and shape you may need. Okay, back to placement. If your rear sight is proving to be your primary printing problem area, then you'll either want to place your wedge centered or biased off to the wing or grip side of your holster. Keep in mind though that using a wedge that is too large and that is biased too far off to the wing side of the holster may reduce how effective your wing is and create grip printing issues. If your grip seems to be the main issue and you're already using a holster wing, then you can increase your grip rotation by placing your wedge on the bottom of your holster, but bias off to the sight channel side of your holster. And that's pretty much the whole story about wedge placement. It really just comes down to customizing the size and making sure you're placing the wedge on the opposite side of your concealment problem area. Wedges can be a great help when it comes to addressing our comfort and concealment challenges, but if we place them incorrectly or make them too big or too small, then they can actually make our problems worse. I'd suggest watching this video next to learn more about common wedge mistakes that you're definitely going to want to avoid.